And we're live. Welcome everybody to the I Loathe Basketball podcast. I have to update on the presentation, so don't mind me for a quick second. There we go. I am Anthony Irwin, as always, joined by Harrison Fagan. We have quite a bit that we have to get to today. Well, not really quite a bit. It's kind of quiet. It's quietish, I would say, by Lakers standards. We have to talk about Anthony Davis, the latest on his injury. Adrian Wojnarowski says that he has started jogging and may start jumping. Um, that doesn't sound great to me. That they're updating every individual movement that he adds to his repertoire. We have to talk about this report from Howard Beck that apparently, hey, there are some around the league who don't think that the Lakers are allowed to move their picks. So that's fantastic. And then, finally, as like a topper of all of this, like relatively right before we went live, we got reports that LeBron has a non-COVID illness and is not going to be playing in tonight's game against Miami. The reason I looked as distracted is because I don't think my mic is not working once again. So I'm going to go ahead.
I really am sorry that I keep only noticing this once we go live on air. That's sort of, we're gonna have to hire a producer for this show just to do basic things to be like, is Anthony's mic on? Yes or no? Just little stuff like that.
Yeah, that seems like a smart idea.
You could do the Bill Simmons thing and be like, turn the TikTok camera on, Kyle.
I heard that the first time. I was like, they really have one? That seems kind of interesting.
Yeah, it means Bill's about to do a TikTok dance while saying why the Celtics are not in trouble.
Look, man, I would pay to watch Bill Simmons do a TikTok dance. I would resubscribe to a show if I knew that was a possibility. That at any moment he could maybe start doing dance. Can you hear me now?
Oh my God, you sound so much better. It's incredible.
Yeah, fantastic.
We are professionals.
Super glad we were live for all of that. Fucking thrilled.
Hey, look, we all need a shoot around, okay? We were getting some reps in and getting warmed up while you turned your mic on.
We were talking about robes. We spoke for a solid 10 minutes before we went live.
You know what it is? It's that you never turn your mic on for meetings. So I'm just used to you talking into an echoey thing. And then I only realize once I see the little live thing up in the corner, I'm like, oh no, Anthony sounds like shit. So.
We're going to get this eventually. Oh man. We've
only been doing this for 10 years together. It's okay. Eventually we're going to figure it out.
You would think that StreamYard would just save a mic. Would it kill you? StreamYard, just save a mic. I'm always going to use this stupid mic.
Yours. I'm blaming this user error. It automatically picks mine every time.
Yeah. White privilege. All right, so we're going to start with the Anthony Davis injury update. Again, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, he has started jogging, done some light running, and may move on to jumping here pretty soon. He says that it's funny. He framed it as, "Hey, this is optimistic," and then it was like he's jumping, which
no, it's not. He's jumping.
No, he's not jumping.
Might start jumping soon, which is. I understand the logical part of my brain gets that with all injuries, there's a progression. You can't just immediately, if he was on crutches or something, which he never was or whatever, but just say, if you've ever had an injury, you're on crutches, you don't immediately just toss aside the crutches and be like, well, every day you're like, let me see if I can jump now or walk on the other leg. There's a timetable, you test it out, you see how it's going, maybe you upgrade to a cane at some point, and then depending on how bad the injury is, and then you go to walking on your own or use a boot or whatever it may be. So I get that there's a progression and all this stuff, and they aren't having him jump right now, and there's a reason for that, and that eventually they do actually have to try jumping. It's just an extremely depressing injury update to get on a player and have said out loud that it's they're hoping that he can jump pain-free soon.
Yeah.
And that they're going to like test that. And if which implies that, hey, there's a chance that he's going to jump and say, ow. And they're going to say, well, okay, I guess jumping
We're
is
not jumping
too much
anymore.
at this point.
So, you know what it reminds me of? And like now that I'm talking about it, it's bringing back some PTSD. But remember with Andrew Bynum, with his, gosh, I think it was his first, well, I think probably both, but I think it was his first injury where, he got hurt. He landed on Lamar Odom's foot, dislocated his kneecap basically, and was going to be out for that season. And it was really a bummer because he was playing incredible basketball. Like that is still like one of my, if not my actual favorite Lakers season of all time, where that was a year that started with the Kobe trade demand. And he was pissed because Andrew Bynum specifically was wasn't making progress, and the Lakers weren't trading him. If you watch the Hulu documentary, there were people apparently in the Lakers organization who thought that Jim Buss saw Andrew Bynum as like the next, like he was the guy actually maybe for a little while Kobe was there, which is just hilarious. But yeah, Andrew Bynum goes down. He later in the year, he started running on this gravity managing. The Alter G treadmill. And it was always a giant update when you would get the percentage of his weight that he was running on. Remember? It's like,
I do remember this.
Remember this?
It was like updating percentages. Yes, that was those were very sad injury updates.
So it's just like, and Donnie with the note of all notes here, nothing makes me feel better about Anthony Davis than an Andrew Bynum analogy. But I'm telling you, this is exactly that. Where we're sitting here, like I remember with Bynum, it started like 15%, and it was like February, right? And then so you started charting. All right, so he's going from 15 to like 25, and that was in like mid-February. And then in March, he jumped up to like 30. And you're like, well, unless, like if you just draw a line for slope here,
unless they just turn off the water, he's not going to be back before the end of the season, like.
Yeah. Like I remember thinking like they wouldn't rule him out for the year. Like they kept saying that there's a potential for a return here. And I remember thinking like, God, if the Lakers could just have Bynum and Powell, this could be an insane run here that they have. They obviously wind up not getting Bynum back, and the Lakers lose to the Celtics in the finals. And it's funny that Celtics fans to this day will say that Kendrick Perkins was more important to their 2010 title pursuit than Andrew Bynum was to the Lakers' 2008 title pursuit, when Andrew Bynum was a significantly better player than Kendrick Perkins. But yeah, this is just, and I, the reason I make that comparison, I bring that up, not just to piss off Donnie, is to, think to myself, all right, if we are sitting here January 4th and we're talking about like a slope for how they are trying to ramp up AD, is this slope going to keep up with, getting him back before the season is too far gone? The Lakers do have a relatively easier schedule here in January than they did, obviously to begin the year. They have gone 5-5 without AD, which is something of a miracle, I think. So,
yeah.
If
so. You and I would not have predicted 5-5 when we did the ADs out for at least a month podcast.
Yeah. Well, remember, he was supposed to originally, like, they were going to look at him again 17 games or so later, right?
Yeah.
We are now 10 games in. So if the Lakers can just manage to win 4 of the next 7, like, that is better than I think anybody could have realistically hoped for. And you look at their schedule, and I think it's possible. Now we got to see how long LeBron is going to have his DNP DNAs. We don't know how long that's going to last for, how long the sickness. Remember, Patrick Beverley's sickness kind of held him out for a little bit longer than I think we anticipated. But yeah, I can certainly see 4-3 looking at the next kind of slew of games for the Lakers. And, I don't know. I think I hear optimism in my voice. I think I hear a little bit until I remember, oh yeah, he can't jump now.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole time you were making that analogy, the only thought going through my head was, if he's on the Andrew Bynum rehab plan, like, when does he graduate to parking illegally in handicap spots? Like, what step of the rehab process is that? Like, when does he start carrying models around on his shoulders? Like, while
going bowling in Ferrari jackets.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's gotta ramp up. You go from jumping to bowling to dancing at a concert to to like carrying people around on your shoulders, and then you can play basketball again.
Yeah, I do recall that. Like, that was one thing. This was at like the
every
very
single
beginning.
Bynum injury, you'd get like one here's the stupid thing he's doing update. It was like one year it's like, oh, like he's like walking around Brazil during the World Cup after surgery, and
remember, he
it's
wanted
like, wait,
to
what?
design.
That doesn't sound like a positive update.
He wanted to design his own knee brace. It was like unlimited resources at his disposal. He was like, you know what, guys, I got this.
So you know what? I'm just saying the updates could be more depressing, if that makes you feel better. Yeah, and hey, look, jumping, they may find out from the update that it does sound depressing to say out loud, but the update from the jumping could be that, hey, he can jump. There's no more stress in the foot. He's doing all right. He can wait till the off season to have that bone spur removed, and then he'll be fine. And that is a thing that, like, people do play through bone spurs. I would imagine, I'm not a doctor, but I would imagine depending on where they are, there's probably
I've heard of some players playing through it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's varying degrees of discomfort, I'm sure, based on where it is, how severe it is, how big it is. We don't know any of that. But it does sound like there is hope that he can wait to have that removed till the offseason. And if that's the case, then, as long as he can avoid making the stress injury worse, which is a big if, because it's an injury that is caused by stress on the bone, which famously jumping and playing NBA basketball can do.
Especially the way he does it.
Yeah. And if he can avoid all of those things, again, big if, then this is sort of a positive update that he's making progress, even if it also sounds extremely, extremely dark. That it's like, yeah, they're hoping he can jump at some point again.
So I'm going to look ahead to the next 7 games here. Again, Miami tonight, which, by the way, is going to be on ESPN. I don't think there's going to be any pressure, but I will be on to drink with you for the last 5 minutes of that game. Then they have Friday against Atlanta, Saturday at Sacramento, Monday against in Denver, and then Thursday they are at home against Dallas, Sunday at home against Philadelphia. I consider the Atlanta game a win, depending on LeBron's availability, and I think they can beat Dallas, depending on LeBron's availability. Those are the two. Like, if you're looking ahead
after Christmas,
yeah, I think so. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. That's fair. All right, fine. They have 1 win in the next 7 games. But like, yeah, I think if you're just, it's so pivotal, given everything that's at stake for the Lakers to be, somewhat in this thing, and the West keeps falling over itself, and that kind of is helping the Lakers, but. Yeah, so right now, everything is really held up by, all right, can the Lakers go, 500, slightly above 500, stay in this thing, and does that convince Rob to go out and get a little bit more help without AD being back? And then if that help gets there and they get better, and is it then worth it for AD to push himself and try to play through a bone spur, and like this is all kind of a house of cards where once one thing just gets out of whack, I think the whole damn thing falls over. But I do think we aren't quite, I don't think, at that point where, yep, this thing's over. This is done. It's
which
close.
Is not what I would have expected.
Yeah, it's close.
They've had a lot of help by the West being absolutely terrible this year, and just like every team having a contest to see who can barf on themselves the most often. Like today the Timberwolves are like talk about depressing seasons. The Lakers have had a bad one. The Timberwolves have had one of the most depressing NBA seasons I can recall, just in general, which is incredible considering that they have like one
The
of
last
the most
two
promising
Lakers
young
seasons.
prospects on like in the NBA on their team, you know, exciting, charismatic, you know, Anthony Edwards. And it's just like, oh yeah, but we gave up like more for Rudy Gobert than the Lakers gave up for AD. And also we suck the first year.
I kind of think that the Wolves need to trade Rudy Gobert just to reset the market. Like they need to trade him, get him out of there, get like a couple picks for the guy. Yeah, you got less than you gave up or whatever, but just move on. And that way also the rest of the league just can't expect, well, look what Utah got for Gobert. Because then it's like, well, yeah, then look at what Minnesota got for Gobert. And we can go back to first round picks being movable.
You're saying a new GM needs to make a second bad trade in a row for
the betterment of the league, Harrison.
Later. Yeah.
For the betterment of the league. Well, it's better than like everything. Like the other day, I saw some people.
Maybe it could be like a Joe Dumars thing where they just like hire him to the league office, or like Kiki Vandeweghe, where they just hire him to the league office afterwards. You know, they're like, hey, you took one for the team. Yeah, you're never going to be a GM again, but you can like hand out suspensions. Okay.
Yeah. Or who was it? The guy who runs USA Basketball, and then had his son take over the Philadelphia 76ers.
Jerry Colangelo. Yeah.
Yeah, like they you know, we can can have a Colangelo situation where like eventually they take over the Thunder because
and they
force
just keep
him
losing on the Thunder. They're like, no, you have to take Tim Connolly to bring professionalism back.
Yeah,
maybe they force him on the Lakers.
Would you trade Russ for Rudy Gobert?
Like they have the same contracts they're on currently?
Yes.
No.
Wow. That's insane. You know how bad the season has gone for Rudy Gobert? Where last year he was a perennial defensive player of the year.
To be fair, my answer may have been no. My answer may have been no before the season, just because like that contract already looked iffy. I am still in disbelief that, you know, new owner syndrome took over there and they made that deal. But anyway, I only mentioned the Timberwolves just to point out that like apparently D'Lo is like subtweeting them and unfollowing them on Instagram. So
I like it. I like it, D'Lo.
Yeah.
Good effort. So D'Angelo Russell is somebody I'm going to ask you about more seriously than Rudy Gobert. I kind of knew your answer, but it was just amazing to hear it out loud.
No, it's good radio. I appreciate
it. D'Angelo Russell to the Lakers. And now, as you pointed out in the Slack, apparently the Timberwolves are hard capped.
Yeah, because they spent like a couple thousand more than I think the biannual exception or something like that on Kyle Anderson. It's like it's a couple $1,000 difference, and they hard capped themselves.
So you could trade
great offseason all around by everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, Rob Pelinka is like when the Lakers, when it comes up to like, should Rob Pelinka be fired? He's like, hey guys, I didn't trade for Rudy Gobert. You know, it's the good news.
He did not. Put it on his resume. Line 2. Line 1 has won a championship in 2020. Line 2 is did not trade for Rudy Gobert.
So would you trade Russ for D'Angelo Russell and Taurean Prince?
Just straight up, no picks involved?
Do you think you need a pick in there? I don't think you do.
I mean, yeah, that's just it's really just a depressing trade for both teams.
It really is. But I mean, like the Lakers get
I do it because you're getting a wing back, and D'Lo fits better alongside the Lakers stars for all of his kind of foibles, of which there are many. You know, he's not a perfect player.
Should I tweet this out while we're doing this, as like why people should come listen to us talk about fake trades?
Sure, I guess. Great radio once again. But. Yeah, I mean, Taurean Prince is like wing-ish, and so, you know, I think that, and then D'Lo just fits better with the Lakers than Russ, so yeah, I'd do that deal. I would imagine that Minnesota is probably not doing that without a pick of some kind.
Maybe?
Because you're not going to trade Cat's best friend for, you know, Russ to come in and yell at him, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, clearly Cat needs to be yelled at more often than he is.
Yeah.
Right, like
Russ, Rudy, and Cat in the same locker room would be great theater.
Can we get Hard Knocks NBA? Like that's just.
I'm with it.
What's funny though is I
NBA
think,
give the Timberwolves a pick back if they let reality TV cameras in their locker room with that group for a season.
What's funny is I think that team fits better with Russ than they do with D'Angelo Russell. Like I really think when I watch D'Angelo Russell play, like they need somebody with a little bit more fire. Like I think that's why they really miss Pat.
They just need a professional in there. They don't. Yeah. There seems to be a distinct lack of professionalism. And look, you and I have been D'Lo defenders for many years. He's not a perfect player.
He's not that.
He's not a perfect professional.
No.
But I would say Russ definitely outranks him in that category in terms of just coming to work, keeping everyone in line.
Yeah, I think you have at least a lob threat next to him with Rudy Gobert. Like he's capable of doing that. You don't want him catching it any further than a foot away from the basket, but he can do that. When Gobert isn't out there and Cat is, you have a center who can space the floor and allow Russ to go out there and get to the basket and stuff and do some creation for him and Anthony Edwards. The only concern I would have there, like if I was Minnesota, is you want to trade the spacing that you have with D'Angelo Russell at point for the lack of spacing that you get with Russell Westbrook at point. And Anthony Edwards already hates the lack of spacing that they have because they brought Rudy Gobert in. So that probably wouldn't go very well. But who cares? It's Minnesota.
So much so that he asked the Timberwolves PR on a hot mic on a Zoom that he didn't realize wasn't closed why if they could get the beat writers to stop asking him about spacing.
That's not real.
No, that's a real thing. Yeah, no, that's a real story. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's that's not even in the top 10 of most dysfunctional Timberwolves updates.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst hot mic situation he's had this year.
No, it is
all right.
not.
So I don't know. I don't know if I think now that I hear myself talk about the spacing issue out loud, I think Minnesota would probably ask for a pick. But at the same time, you do have these brand new owners, and they might convince themselves, hey, you know what we need? Hall of Fame talent, baby. I could maybe see it. I'm talking myself into this. And
I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment again. This trade is not happening.
No, it's not. I don't think it's happening either. Okay. But maybe. Maybe just maybe.
just to like really just like kind of tweak Timberwolves fans a little bit in my trade machine screen grab. Not Torian Prince. I included Kyle Anderson, who is actually.
Oh my God! No, Harrison.
And I had the Lakers send a pick, but it was lottery protected in 2029.
Oh my God. Kyle Anderson's like legit good.
I could be more evil than you in the trade machine when I want to be.
Kyle Anderson. Well, the thing is, you're evil to the other team's fans. I tend to be more evil to Lakers fans with my trade offers. But yeah, Kyle Anderson is worth a first on his own. Like,
yeah,
he's
lottery
really
protected
good.
First. Lottery protected in 2029. I gave them a first. They're upgrading at point guard. They're getting like a former MVP. Has D'Angelo Russell ever won an MVP? I don't know, but I don't think so.
He's an all-star. The Lakers would be trading for an all-star.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they would.
D'Angelo Russell is the mystery star. He's a former Laker. D'Angelo Russell, sign with Clutch. We can make this happen.
So we're live on Facebook too right now, and you can get Facebook emojis in, and there's this care emoji like right there. It's like right above my finger. It's just like somebody from Facebook is like, "Hey guys, you look like you need a hug." Like, you guys,
well, thank you.
You guys are not okay.
I appreciate it.
Whoever gave us that emoji, thank you. I do very much need a hug. I have a misfortune of the week coming up later in the show that you're gonna like. Okay, cool. So let's move on then.
Mine is not giving up 7 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert, thankfully.
That's fortune of the week. That's
not my good fortune of the. I have not done that yet.
If Tim Connolly was on the show, every misfortune of the week is just,
like, you know what, guys? The continuing fallout of the Gobert trade. Like, As if the trade wasn't bad enough, he got a door dink on my car. He opened his door too wide and just like smashed off my rearview mirror. It's been rough.
Jimmy Butler's like, I don't see the problem. What?
Bulls legend.
So the reason all this might be moot, though, to your point from earlier, and why that trade might not happen, or partially why that trade might not happen.
I'm going to say it's among many reasons why that trade's probably not going to happen.
Several reasons why that trade would not happen is that apparently people around the league don't think the Lakers can trade or the front office can trade their 2 first-round picks. And this is how Howard Beck phrased it on the crossover with Chris Mannix and Howard Beck. Quote, they obviously are not willing to trade the picks, and I've heard rumblings. They're only rumblings, so I don't want people to go too far with this or go crazy with the aggregation. Sorry, Howard.
Sorry, Howard.
But a couple people around the league have told me in recent weeks that they believe that the front office has essentially been told not to trade the picks, that they're guarding those, end quote. They're guarding those. Based on the defense,
about time the Lakers guard something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, based on the defense that the Lakers are playing right now without Anthony Davis, I'm surprised those picks haven't been traded.
Stolen. Just like they're just like, yeah, we lost them. Sorry.
Yeah.
Turns out every pick is actually like a physical object. Teams have to mail them to each other.
Well, hey.
Sam Presti pulled off the Ocean's 11 heist of the century. He just it's.
Ooh, I would watch that movie.
Yeah.
So the Lakers, though, now Jacob expanded on this a little bit in the post that he wrote for the site and explained why this would make a little bit of sense. And, the rumor or the report that I just can't quite get out of my head is that apparently Jeannie Buss scuttled a trade, that Miles Turner and Buddy Hield trade before the season because she's a big fan of Russell Westbrook. And saying that combination of words,
a leak
in
that
that order,
aged milk. Like if you took milk that you knew was expired, and instead of throwing it away, you put it in the wine cellar, and you're just like, let me age this for a year, and then you took a sip. And
it's that moment. It's like a week or two before that milk turns into cheese. Right.
Anthony, they were like 5 games under 500 when that leak came out, taking a victory lap on like Jeannie Buss showed faith in Russ.
Look, man.
And then
not a single person is going to accuse her of being good at her job.
Real bad. He has been real bad since then.
Yeah.
That 6 man of the year talk.
He's still the betting favorite. He's still how? Like,
yeah, that's just box score watching.
So yeah, what do you think? Like, I think this makes some sense. I don't think it's impossible that at the very least the Lakers. Well, all right, look, I think it's objectively true that the Lakers are operating as if they have been told, do not trade those picks, right? Because they have not traded those picks. Now, do I think it's possible that this is something ownership or that inner circle has told to Rob Pelinka? That's a very different question, and I don't quite know. I would,
and there's no way for the people that are speculating about, like, to be like, Beck made this as clear as possible in asking us to not go crazy with the aggregation. That this is coming from other people. Sorry, Howard. That this is coming from people outside of the team. Like, he laid that out very clearly. This is not, someone with the Lakers saying, hey, like, I think Jeannie might be telling us to guard the pick. No, it's people outside of the Lakers that presumably have had trade talks with them or dealt with them in some sort of, other NBA business fashion, thinking that the Lakers are operating like a team who have been told to trade their picks, which is different from knowing that for a fact. But it is an interesting theory that, I guess I hadn't given as much consideration to. Like, I was looking at it more from the sense of, like, everyone's on the same page, and maybe they all are. Like, this doesn't exempt that. Maybe Rob Pelinka could think that that's the right decision and also be being told to do it. We just don't know. And so, it's an interesting theory, and I do think that it's something that's worth discussing, which is why it's worth, like, writing up and worth us doing podcast segment on it. But I also, like, there's no way to know for sure.
So I laughed earlier because
the genie leak in tandem with it is also not something that I had like connected those dots. I've had a very busy day at my actual job outside of Lakers stuff, and but that is hilarious. And so yeah, actually, I'm like more on board with this theory now.
yeah, I think there's a lot going on here. So I've been laughing basically for like the last 2 days at the GOP not being able to elect a House leader. Like it is just
all right, and that's going to do it for me on this episode of the Silver Screen and Roll podcast. I'm going to let Anthony take over with the. I'm gonna exit the stage left.
I wish I could turn your camera from where I'm sitting, but no, I've been laughing at this. Like every single update from that situation has just gotten more and more ridiculous. It's been funnier and funnier to me. How this is all going down in that portion of the country, and you know this whole
my favorite update
here
has been the Santos guy that like lied about his entire resume, just like all the screenshots of him sitting in the back by himself, like a kid with no friends on the first day of school.
I see that bet and I raise it. George Santos did not respond when his name was being called, bringing into question if George Santos is actually his
I missed this update. That is very funny. That is even funnier. Yeah. Okay. But, anyway, that is my only comment on politics today.
So like every story that I get that come like floats out of that cesspool is just like funnier and funnier and funnier. It's just like ridiculous how things are going over there. But like the opposite is true regarding the Lakers and these picks, where like every single story is just like, oh my God, how did I not think that this was possible? And how do we keep steeping lower and lower and lower into insanity? Whereas where I currently reside, it's just like I've lost my complete mind watching these people just completely fumble away. Again, all the front office has to do is turn almost $70 million in expiring money and 2 first-round picks into like 2 or 3 playable rotation players. That's it. Like they have completely overthought every step of this. That's all you have to do. It's like this is not some mythical Odyssean quest that the Lakers are embarking on. But no, I'm stuck here seeing, these reports float out that, hey, maybe just maybe Rob Pelinka literally is not allowed to trade these picks. And, just like with the Genie Bus report regarding trading Russ for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner earlier in the year, it's the kind of thing that it could be other people. Like the Lakers are very collaborative in that inner circle and various people can cast various votes. But at the end of the day, the person who would be able to kind of set this in stone, etch this policy in stone is Jeannie Buss. And just like with the Russell Westbrook trade that reportedly got to the 1 yard line and then was scuttled, the only person who can scuttle a trade at the 1 yard line is Jeannie Buss. And again, like as I always say, the number one rule in PR is tell your own story or you allow other people to tell your story for you. And like this complete radio silence from everybody involved forces us to speculate what the hell is going on. And right now, this speculation by other teams who are trying to deal with the Lakers right now, that they are not allowed to trade this pick, it makes sense to me. It tracks. It certainly fits how things have gone.
Yeah, like when something is logical and it seems like a team should, and maybe the Lakers will trade these picks and all this is moot, in the next like month or two, but they certainly have not been acting like a team that is very interested in doing that. And again, it's lying season, especially now that the trade market has opened up, and so maybe they are just trying to sort of really make this believable, seemingly entrench themselves so that they can get a slightly better deal in February. And you are going to have to eat a lot of crow if that happens. But I mean,
I would happily eat that crow. I will actually bake a crow pie.
Sometimes
I
the
don't
most
think that's
logical
legal,
theory
but
or the simplest theory is, is what's really happening. And in this case, the team being this determined to not trade picks that, again, like we don't even know if Rob Pelinka is going to be around at that point. Like he got an extension, but he didn't get an extension through 2029.
no.
Theoretically, you'd think that maybe he would have some incentive to want to add to his resume and show that he could turn this team around. Or maybe it's easier. It's like the tanking GM thing where it's easier to just be like, hey, no, our plan, it's to be really bad. And so mission accomplished. But yeah, I mean, the idea that you spoke to, this was going around a little bit yesterday, that the Lakers are not that far off. When you consider how hilariously bad their luck has been, in terms of health and availability, and that this roster is not good. Like when you look at the plus minuses of this team, the fact that they have been able, like they've went 500 without AD, their record on the season is not, like they aren't completely out of the playoff chase. They're 5 games below 500, but not as bad as you would think given how they've played at times. The team's plus minus, like I don't know if you saw this going around yesterday, the only players in the positive in plus minus to play more
just
than
raw plus minus, right?
Yeah, raw plus minus to play more than 130 minutes. So like Matt Ryan was a 0 at 129. Cole Swider has played 2 minutes and is a +3. But outside of those guys, the only ones in the pluses are Wenyen Gabriel +10, LeBron +29, Anthony Davis +48, Austin Reeves +56. Everyone else is in the negative, and in most cases, like massively so. Like Patrick Beverley is a -85, Russell Westbrook is a -45. Lonnie Walker, poor Lonnie, after getting off to a strong start to the season, has felt this starting lineup more than anyone. He is a team low -117. It's been rough.
The Lonnie one especially made me really sad. I was looking like, all right, who's the worst? Who's the worst? Oh, Lonnie. But that gets back to the point that I was making with you and Aaron on last week's Lakers Lounge, right? Lonnie's a good
It's like, wow, it's weird
attacking
that the 3 guards that are starting that should not all be starting alongside each other are 3 of the 4 worst plus minuses.
So I was looking, apparently Cole Swider is playing for the South Bay Lakers, right? He's played 2 games.
Yeah, I believe he's back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to see. I would like to see him eventually at some point this season.
You and Rob both.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll have to bring Sabrina back to apologize to Raj if he actually comes on and starts playing well.
Sabrina's just like, it's not in my contract. I'm not allowed to.
No. She signed a lifetime contract with I Love Basketball. Okay, loving basketball is a lifetime deal.
Yeah, but to the point that you're making about like how terribly this season has gone, and for the Lakers to still have a chance, I likened it last night in the lowdown. Which thanks for announcing that you don't listen to these things. I said it last night.
I do not. If I'm the opposite of most listeners. If I see Anthony Irwin on a pod, I hit nope, do not download.
But like on last night's lowdown, I compared it to like that first half that we all know when we see it, right? Every single thing goes wrong. You're missing free throws. You're turning the ball over. Offensive rebounds. It just looks like the team is just kind of stuck in the mud. And then you look up at the score and you're like, you're down 7. And I feel like that's exactly how these first, I don't know how many games they've played, 40 or so games have gone here for the Lakers, where everything has gone wrong. You're like, we're 4 games back. And now, sure, a run in the opposite direction, right? A losing streak. The other team's realizing, oh, hey, we don't have to keep shooting ourselves in the foot or each other in the foot, like just time and time again. Like that can always happen, and that 4-game deficit can turn into an 8 or a 9-game deficit, just like that 7-point lead can balloon really quickly into a 15 or 16-point lead. But
that's been the more frequent occurrence for the Lakers the last couple of years.
Especially in the third quarter.
I can't tell you how many times last year where I was like, Lakers only down 7 going into the half. That feels kind of lucky. And then it's like the Lakers have put up the worst third quarter in NBA history. And
this literally happened against Dallas.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
think that exact scenario.
Melo appears to be taking a nap in the corner. I don't know why he hasn't been subbed out yet, but
Now I picture Carmelo Anthony showing up in his Lakers jersey from last year, sleeping in the corner. Like he has courtside seats and he's sleeping in the corner. Like, guys, I'm just doing my job. We're good.
Taking a
Y'all
nap.
need spacing.
But like if you look at the standings right now, the Lakers, like you mentioned, they're not that far back from play-in range, and some of the teams ahead of them are probably going to start to fall out. You would still think at some point the
Like
Thunder,
Utah.
Utah, like they should have a chance to get. I mean, there's 2 playoff spots between them and there's 1 playoff spot between them and the Timberwolves to chase in that range or play-in spot. But maybe the Blazers continue to fall out a little bit. I don't know.
Well, no, I think it's possible that
The Suns
Utah
have been really bad lately.
Like
and,
eventually, if the Jazz especially are still stuck in that like kind of play-in spot, right? If they're just kind of trudging along in mediocrity, eventually Danny Ainge is going to make a trade to make the team worse and get back into the Wembanyama sweepstakes. And the nice thing here is like because the odds have flattened out, he doesn't need to fall that far, so he can always kind of convince himself that they can fall far enough for a tangible statistical, I guess advantage. Improvement. Thank you. To be gained. So like I think it's possible. The key again though, like Harrison, and it goes back to like this whole the whole approach that the Lakers keep having to the season is, and Aaron calls my logic circular, which fair. I think all sports arguments are circular arguments.
All hypothetical arguments are circular, but in this case, they have been particularly so. Like, I think he has a point about how people will use the same thing to argue different points.
But like, I still say that, like, given the way that LeBron is playing, and if all you need right now, like, I don't think the Lakers need to make a trade that involves both of those picks to make the roster just a little bit more serious, right? Like, I really don't think, like, honestly, just getting rid of a point guard, just one, and turning that point guard or 2 point guards into a wing.
Turning 2 point guards into Terry Rozier and just like,
just anything, just like
consolidating the rotation a little bit.
Yeah. Like just getting rid of 1 point guard and opening up minutes so that you can get Troy Brown in there a little bit more often, so you can get Wayne Gabriel in there a little bit more often. You can get more consistent minutes for Austin Reeves. Like I saw the other night, he played 22 minutes. That didn't make any sense to me. Like this is just it doesn't require. Again, it goes back to the same thing, the same stupid drum I've been banging all year. It makes a fart noise every time I hit it. Just like. What Rob Pelinka and this front office is tasked to do is nowhere near as difficult as it appears to be based on the way that they're approaching this. Just like this last offseason, they made this offseason so much more difficult than it had to be by completely overthinking the Russell Westbrook situation. Just do the easy thing. Stop talking about Bradley Beal. Stop waiting for Luka to get pissed with Jason Kidd. Stop waiting for Jason Tatum to wear his next Kobe outfit. Like, stop. Stop with all that bullshit. Just go out and get a couple feasible rotation players. Like, shore up this thing that the Lakers have right now so that this 7-point halftime deficit can turn into like a 2-point deficit by the time AD comes back, and now you can actually make a run. Like, this is just, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills day in, day out when we talk about this stuff, because like the stuff that we're talking about is nowhere near as difficult as these idiots keep making it look. It's wild.
And one of the things that you brought up in your pod with Sedano, which I listened to because you had a smart guest on, to sort of check your worst impulses.
Dude, you should have seen the background that he had. Like, just absolutely perfect.
I saw it in the clip that you tweeted out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you had Sedano on, and I thought that he made a good point, and this is actually coincidentally a point that that Craig was making in a article for the site today. About that the Lakers, your whole thing is that you're supposed to be partners with stars, and that rep can disappear real quick if
especially with this star
badly with LeBron. Like, you don't get to tout yourself as, we had to get Jim Buss out of here, it was a bad look, no stars wanted to come, and then immediately go to like maybe like piss off maybe the greatest player of all time and be like, yeah, like you're still producing greater
Who
than
only heads up an agency, Harrison.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, there's been no collusion found between those two parties. Okay. The NBA has dug into this. They have their best tampering investigators on it. And Clutch will probably, LeBron's going to be docked a second round pick when he is owner of the Las Vegas franchise. Okay. For this.
Worth it.
Yeah.
He's going to get an actual franchise, and all he's going to have to pay is a second round pick, a conditional second round pick.
They're going to be like, well, so it turns out that, it was kind of weird that you had like 9 Clutch guys on your team, at like every
all times.
team. So yeah, we're going to dock you a second round pick. Adam Silver coming down strong. But like, yeah, you can't keep saying that you're a place stars want to play. You're not going to be a place stars want to play if this is how things are going. Like, yeah, LA will always be nice and the Lakers brand will always be somewhat appealing. But, we saw with the Jim Buss era, like stars still didn't want to go there because it's like, I mean, number one, they didn't really want to take a back seat to an aging Kobe. I think that was certainly a factor that people underrate sometimes. But there was also, like the team was just terrible and they looked incompetent all the time.
Kevin Durant didn't even take a meeting with him. Remember, like he was a free agent and he was just like, no, you're not ready for me.
I kind of want to win. Like, I don't really want to hear about how like Adam Levine's going to wear my jersey and like marketing stuff. Like,
LaMarcus Aldridge turned him down twice. They had 2 separate meetings. They had
to have the second meeting to talk about basketball, Anthony. There were so many marketing opportunities in the first meeting. They just couldn't squeeze in the basketball part.
Yeah, it's just... You're absolutely right. And
one day we got to try and get when LaMarcus is like mostly retired, right? At this point, is he's not still playing somewhere, is he?
No, I think he's.
We got to try and get him on a pod to talk about like the Lakers pitch meeting. Like, what was that?
I could pitch him on. I could because I'm in Austin. He went to UT, so
there you go.
Maybe
just trick him.
There's your
tell
connection.
him you want to talk about his college years.
Yeah. But it's funny that you mentioned this point. When I wrote 800 actual words on this exact point yesterday.
Well, I thought Craig made a great point in his editorial when he pointed this out.
Craig probably did. Craig is really good at this. I wrote 800 words and I narrated those 800 words for the lowdown, which you didn't read or listen to.
No thanks.
Solid editor. All right. I might add that as my misfortune of the week. Just finding out that like Harrison, whose job it is to read stuff that goes up at the site, is just like, no, that's way too toxic over there.
I physically cannot read everything that goes live at the SB Nation NBA networks. I got to pick my best writer.
See, I was going to flip it the other way around and say that the reason that you aren't reading my stuff is because you just trust me. You just know that I'm going to take a nice...
No, it's more about like plausible deniability. And like if I don't know what you wrote, then I can claim honestly that I didn't know that was in there.
All right, let's move on really quickly. Tonight, the Lakers are playing the Miami Heat. They will not have LeBron James. They will not have Lonnie Walker. LeBron James playing with not playing with a non-COVID illness. Harrison, if you had to like just offer up a percentage of chance that he may not be available for a nationally televised game against the Miami Heat when we just saw him play and score 40 points in consecutive games. If you had to offer up a percentage of like chance that you think maybe, just maybe, he's offering up the Lakers again on a nationally televised game to get roasted by Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, and our buddy George Sedano, who's going to be on that telecast too, for 48 minutes of, can you believe this roster they gave to Anthony Davis and LeBron James?
I see it's on ESPN. I can't find if it says who was actually did Sedano say? I forgot.
Sedano said it's him, Jackson, and JVG, Jeff Van Gundy.
Okay. Well, no, I would assume it's like Breen or a play-by-play guy in there, not Jeff Van Gundy.
No, well, Breen is there, so they have their A team basically, right? So it's Breen. Yeah.
But,
Yes.
it was already like, it was already going to be bad enough. Like if it was like just Mark Jackson, because we know that like he never, misses an opportunity to, sort of cook people for not helping LeBron out. But
Yeah.
with JVG there to, to add to it, like, yeah, this is going to be either the greatest or worst podcast of all time. Sorry,
Two
George.
former coaches roasting the Lakers for putting a rookie head coach in this predicament too.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be,
What do you think,
loud.
like, JVG's devastating line about Pelinka is going to be tonight? He's like, I don't know how you can blame a rookie head coach for playing the player. Like, sign a player that's over 6'6". Why is this a novel concept?
Like, you know that
Everyone
famous
looks
picture
like me holding on to Patrick Ewing's leg. How are they supposed to win like this?
Literally the joke I was going to make. Well done.
Same page. That's broadcast synergy, baby.
You see poor Patrick Beverley's holding on to Jimmy Butler's ankle. Like, he's just
like being dragged around the floor, just yelling at him. And then he comes back up and he scores a breakaway layup and does the too small gesture.
yes.
As they're down 25.
Patrick Beverley's going to be doing the too small gesture in fucking warm-ups. Like he's just like that's the closest the Lakers are going to be. Yeah, I think so. Somebody on Twitter who's at I can't grab right now mentioned that to me, and I love this theory. I adore it. I am here 1 zillion. I actually think it's a greater than 50% chance that LeBron is saying, you know what, guys, enjoy this roast fest.
So
I'm sick of carrying these 3 tiny little guards night in, night out. Go have your fun. This is what it would look like without me. You guys want to start building for a post me era? Here's what that would look like. Enjoy it.
I like this theory. It really would be LeBron hitting them with the baguette. In this case.
Yeah.
I also think, to be fair, he's an older guy now. And
flu is going around.
I also like, I've never been to Miami, but I would imagine most near 40-year-olds, if they go for a weekend of partying in Miami, probably end up missing a day of work the next day.
I can confirm, not to the Miami part, but like partying for a weekend.
I do appreciate the NBA working in non-COVID illness to replace flu-like symptoms now. Because now it's like they realized that we had caught on to what flu-like symptoms meant.
Yeah.
And now it's just like non-COVID illness.
Yeah. I wish it would make it more obvious, like dehydration, headache, needs a
That's
burger.
how you know a guy's like being unprofessional, is if the team lists him with that.
Right, yeah.
Dehydration.
He ain't drink enough water.
Yeah.
Have a Gatorade before you go to bed. Be an adult.
Lack of Pedialyte.
Yeah. Apparently, somebody said that you are not supposed to take aspirin before you go to bed. With like, if you are nervous that you're going to wake up with a hangover, that's like really bad for you. So
This is a better question for Aaron. This is outside of my expertise.
Yeah. Hey, shouts to Aaron. Like 2 weeks of sobriety. Well done, dude. That's awesome.
And during this Lakers season too. Way to go.
Right.
Possibly the worst time to try that, but we admire him nonetheless.
Yes. All right, let's go with our misfortunes of the week to wrap things up here. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, yours will probably be funnier, so I can go first. Like,
all right.
Speaking of, just based on your reaction, I'm imagining yours is going to be funnier. But speaking of aspirin, I tried to do a nice thing for my wife this week, and she was at work doing the game, all that stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get the dishes done, from the dinner that I made myself, all the stuff that was left in the sink, whatever. She said she was gonna do them before work, but I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna get these done. It's like a nice thank you for going into work, making money for the household thing today. And I am never doing dishes again, because not only do I end up throwing my back out almost every time,
of course,
because it's just all the constant bending, whatever. I'm not built for dishes.
Anything. This world.
Yeah. I'm built different in a bad way, as we always say. But not only that, but my lovely wife she has a lovely habit of leaving all of the cabinets open around the house. And So
Dude,
when I was,
Jen always leaves like a crack on the drawers. Like it's
okay,
just
so
like,
the crack would not.
push
The
it in a
crack
little
is
bit.
fine. Whatever. I wouldn't care about that. That bug my OCD a little bit, but like I could deal with that.
Uh-huh.
The thing that Mia leaves them wide ass open so that I guess like she can have full view of what's in the pantry, whatever. I was putting some bowls away, like the mixing bowls, the pans, whatever, down below, where all the cutlery is. And when I went to get back up, I got pretty quickly. And I think I may have concussed myself on the door
Oh,
that
the
she
corner?
left open. Just like smashed my head into it, full speed,
Oh.
almost collapsed, screamed out the F word, and I think scared my neighbor. That there was like about to be a murder committed in the household, but it was like just me at home by myself and scaring the cat. The cat thought that I had finally snapped at like all the pranks he's been pulling on me, like my weekly misfortunes of trying to trip me going down the stairs, whatever. Like he just bolted. I didn't see him for an hour.
I pictured Sasha like on the top of the couch or something with some popcorn that just appeared magically.
Yeah, he's
just
like time to
this.
go to my biggest hater's funeral.
This is gonna be great. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And so my head still hurts like 2 days later. I've had like a headache intermittently.
You might actually have like a concussion. Like,
yeah, I think
possible.
I may have actually like concussed myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so explaining to Mia, like when she got home, that I'm like, yeah, like I did the dishes, but I think I concussed myself. So like, just keep an eye on me while I'm sleeping tonight.
I wish you would have just stopped at the second sentence. Like, all right, well, I tried to surprise you. I did the dishes. Might have a concussion, and then just walk away.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
I was a little too concussed for that advanced wordplay. But yeah, it's like I have a bump on my head that also is like right where the headphone thing goes. And so this whole podcast is just pressing on it. And it's just, I'm not in tip-top shape today.
I was heading into this, I thought for sure I had you. I still think I do, but it's closer than I thought. You certainly have like you're going into halftime down 7.
Okay.
All right. So we just like right before Christmas, we had the hot water go out, and it was because one of our pipes froze. And what you have to do in that spot is go and reach every part of pipe that you can actually see and get to, and check and make sure that it isn't like expanded. And you can take, like, for the type of piping that I have, I can take a heat gun to it and I can loosen it so that when water finally goes through there, you don't have to worry about a bursting pipe. I wasn't able to find anything, and fortunately, like, it warmed up quickly enough that I didn't have to worry about a burst pipe. But we have what's called a reverse osmosis system, which is like for like better drinking water essentially, and it has a leak detector attached to it because it's really particular about like the kind of situation it can run in. And
it's the type of like hoity-toity updates that you've been known to make to your house. Yeah.
The water is delicious. And so, in my looking at the pipes underneath the sink, I accidentally tripped the quick release on the pipe that connects to the main sink there. And Jen turned on the water eventually, and I tripped it without realizing that I tripped it. So she turned on the water, and the water, like, it didn't get too wet down there, but it tripped the leak detector, and it turned off our reverse osmosis thing. It's been off now for like a week or so. Well, fortunately, the water company was finally able to come out and check it out, and I'm there alone by myself with Miles today. Avery's at preschool, Jen was at the office, but Miles has been a little under the weather. And he was kind of fussy. It was right before his nap time, so he's like super duper fussy. I'm holding him here. I had just fed him a bottle. And the guy is like working there under the sink. And he says, "Hey, can you come here and look at this thing really quick?" And I'm like trying to position myself while I'm holding a baby who is like a big baby at this point. He's like way bigger than Avery was. So I'm trying to position
He's a
myself.
large baby that complains a lot. He really is your son. Paternity has passed.
It's a giant whiny baby. Yes, my son through and through. So this guy's like under the sink, and he's like, "Hey, do you mind coming over and looking at this?" And I go like, "Okay, sure." And as I'm going to lean down and position myself with him, and again holding Miles, and like, I don't know, like people who are watching can see, I have him here on my right arm like this, and his head is facing out this way. And as I'm leaning over, I feel Miles go like, you know, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know how I'm gonna like avoid this situation. And what I wind up having to do is just dip out. Like I just had to. I told the guy,
Oh,
I didn't have to. I wasn't able to say anything to him, but I just roll real fast. And in rolling, Miles projectile vomits, and I swear to God, it was just like this circle of vomit that like. So like, I'm telling you, if Michael Bay was filming this thing, he would have like this circular rotating camera around Miles as he's just going wah over here. It's like splashing all over my kitchen, and this guy, completely clueless. Like he's just like working along. He's like, yeah, so you gotta look at this thing right here, and you gotta keep an eye on this little leak detector. And here I got a fresh new piece of gauze, and you stick it right there. And I'm like, dude,
you got a decent Texan accent now.
My son, yeah, well, it's actually this is my I'm using an accent right now to talk to you. I usually no, but like, yeah, I just like literally dipped, duck, dodged, and dodged to like to make sure that my son doesn't vomit on you, dude. And you're sitting here telling me about leak detectors. So he goes,
you were the ultimate leak detector in that case.
I did. Well done. So like, it doesn't end though. So I tell the guy,
it gets worse.
Well, not worse. That was the worst part of it. But
okay.
like, as I thought
you were going to say working, like, oh, here's how I imagine the story ending. It missed the guy. You think you're in the clear, but then he slips on the vomit, and now he's suing you.
Ooh, man. That was close. He was certainly walking right there, like walking around and you know, completely clueless. But no, I think he was just kind of down there working on the sink. So I tell the guy, hey, it's like, hey, are you going to be here a little while? He goes, yeah, I'm going to be working on this. So I go, all right, if you don't mind, I'm going to go put my son down in the other room, see if I can get him to take a nap. I'll be right back here in like 2 minutes.
See if I can get him to stop throwing up on you.
Yeah, please. Like, unless you have a parka or a poncho, I'm just going to go take care of this over here, and I'll come right back here to look at your leak detector. So I do wind up, I get Avery to kind of like calm down. He's like, before he was like screaming. I was like, hey man, I have to take care of this. I'm going to go put him in this room. So he goes to take his nap or whatever. And I think I have him down, and I'm talking to him in the kitchen, and he's telling me about the problem. He's telling me, all right, I think we have it fixed here. You know, here's my card for this or that. And then as he's handing me the card, Miles starts kind of rustling, and I can hear it in the background. And he just starts rambling on, like, you know, these osmosis things, they can be kind of finicky. They work on osmosis. And then Miles is like escalating in the background. And then I'm like, hey, dude, you have like 5 minutes to go. And then he starts telling me about like his osmosis system, which I don't give a fuck about. And he's like, he keeps going. And in the background, you have this crescendo of just rising crescendo of baby. And finally, as he's like, he's telling me about like this other customer, and that's where I draw my line. Miles is full on screaming now, and I know that I come off as an asshole here, and I apologize to whatever your name is who works for this water company, but Miles is like full on scream coughing because he has a cough. So every time he cries really hard, he starts coughing and gagging. And this guy is just like powering right through his story. He's telling me about his. So finally he gets to this next customer, and I just go, dude, do you not hear this? My guy, like, do you not hear my son? Like, he goes, oh my God, man, I'm so sorry. You know what? I apologize. Here's my card. Give me a call if you need anything. I was like, hey, I'm sorry for snapping, but I have to go. Okay, man, I'll see you later. I'm just going to clean it. No, dude, I'll clean up. I got to go. Get out of my house. And that's how it ends. Me telling this poor dude who fixed my water to get out of my house. Am I the asshole in that moment? Yeah.
I think
Am I the asshole? Yeah.
I mean, you could have gone about it in a nicer way. So yeah, I'd say probably.
I don't think you realize how stressful a screaming baby can be, though.
Well, I mean, sure, but also, like, aren't you supposed to let them cry? Isn't that like a...
No, that doesn't start till like month 4 or 5. He's at 3 months right now. So almost, we're almost there. But no, he would have kept on like screaming and gagging, and Like, again, it wasn't
Yeah, I
screaming.
guess you're not supposed to let your kid choke, right? So
Yeah, he was like,
okay.
like that's the other thing is I put him for his nap down on his back, so like as he's coughing, he might be like choking, and that's like this guy.
You know,
he also told me he's a dad too. He told me he's a dad, and I'm like, dude, do you not hear the like you're a dad? You know these sounds?
Well,
those are not good sounds.
By vocation, I'm guessing he was not the one staying at home with the baby, so he may not like recognize.
That's possible.
You know?
That's possible. Yeah. But he's still been around a baby. Like, you know what a bad baby sound is. So I don't know. All right. That's going to do it here for this episode of the I Loathe Basketball podcast, and apparently I Loathe the Working Class podcast.
Yeah. That's Anthony's I Loathe the Working Class podcast. Unbelievable.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
You're like, I'm sorry, but I don't know if you know this, but I am an extremely important podcaster, and I need to get my son down for a nap so that I can go talk about the Lakers. Get out of my house.
When you put it that way. Make sure you guys check out the pressure cooker tonight. Probably won't be much pressure, but there will be cooking. Russ is going to be allowed to cook.
Is it like the NBA's clutch statistics? Is there a barometer for pressure? You know, do you have a leak detector on the pressure cooker? Like at some point, it's just like, I'm not turning this on. They're down 45. Like,
I don't think we're going to be. I'm not too worried about pressure, but I'll be there. I'm going to ask everybody here. It's in the Social and Roll Slack to see if anybody else wants to come on and laugh at the Lakers with me.
No, thank you.
And then make sure you check out Raj's spaces after the game. Oh, poor Raj.
Oh no, Raj.
I might let him skip.
You got to tell him to skip. Like if he asks not the Kendrick Nunn revenge 35-point game leading them to a win, like
if he asks me, Raj, if you're listening, if you don't want to do tonight's game,
he doesn't listen to the podcast.
That's true. He rewatches podcasts. Hey, this is video, so
yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.